And at first we had PSWs coming in to stay with him from 11 at night till 7 in the morning so that I could sleep, because and even in the hospital, he climbed out of bed and fell on the floor and banged his head.
Couldn't keep the
and, rather than restrain him in bed every night, we had PSWs who would stay with him, make sure that he didn't hurt himself and so on. Later on, we started using the helmet, and of course, cognitive issues were a problem. Besides the hallucinations and the dream sleeping, his memory was quite bad. But when he started using the helmet, there were very noticeable changes over that period of time. He started in about January, so now it's just over 2 months he's been using it. And some of the things that were obvious were his alertness, awareness of what was going on around him, because at times he didn't even recognize us. Memory. One of the tasks he would do around the house would be unloading the dishwasher, and I would find dishes all over the place in different cupboards. But,
oh, Alan, you were giving Flo a real good challenge, weren't you?
I noticed
She can use a fine.
But I noticed that once he started using the helmet, that his memory improved drastically in that area. His memory for people and events and dates, because before he couldn't remember any dates that were coming up or any people that he had talked to, but that improved drastically. Interpreting language, like you would say something to him and he would hear the words, he would hear them, but his mind wouldn't really comprehend what they meant. But and so you'd often have to say it 2 or 3 times. But that has improved drastically. One of the other things is being able to focus and stay on topic if there is a discussion, because before he just could not stay with the topic or stay focused on anything. The dream acting has almost entirely subsided since he's been using the machine.
I'll tell you one that just to interrupt you for a sec that you got to laugh at. One time I got slugged right in the chest, and Monica, she says, "There." she let me have it. Good thing it wasn't in my face, but thankfully that hasn't reoccurred. But I don't know about every night having somebody acting out their dreams. That would be pretty tough, I imagine.
Well, I was more concerned about him falling or
going downstairs.
Well, he did end up going outside one night, and I'm usually a light sleeper, but I had moved to the other bedroom because of his acting out and didn't hear him leave the house.
Quiet as a mouse, huh?
Strawberries.
And the thing is, when he is acting out his dreams, he doesn't have the same physical limitations that he has normally. Normally, when he's just barely making it up and down stairs, he can go up and down the stairs as though there's no pain or disability.
Wow.
Yeah, when he's dream acting, he doesn't seem to be aware of any pain or discomfort or disability. It seems to be in the background. Anyway, his sleeping has been much more solid and undisturbed than it ever was. I had a camera in we moved his bedroom to the main floor. And so I have a camera there that alerts me every time he moves. And so I can keep a good check on what he's doing. And many nights he seldom moves at all except to change position in the bed. And so it's made a big difference in that way. I should tell you something else too, because he has had knee problems, so have I. And because the helmet will fit over the knee, We've been using it on our knees, and I have to say that's made a huge difference. I can go up and down stairs almost without pain, which I have not been able to do for about 20 years. So, and it's not completely cured. And of course, I have to admit, I don't use it very often on myself. I'm usually using it on Alan, but it has even made a difference there.
So, Alan, your thoughts as we've been talking about this?
I'm amazed at the way the unit works, for the simplicity of it, the uniqueness of it, and the effectiveness of it. It's a real lifesaver. It's something that I think has a lot of future, a lot of value for people, would help a lot of people who have disability. I have my ideas of dressing up, a few little things like that. That's my mind. I'd love to. I think it has a lot of potential, can really be a help to a lot of people.
Yeah, we're hoping that this technology can really go out there around the world, is what our hopes are.
And Tom, I have to say that 2 months ago, Alan could not have put all of that together in a paragraph.
It's beautiful.
Well, the old boy is coming along pretty good. They're working. But I believe that I appreciate you, Tom. You've always been a hard worker getting on the thing. The diligence of working at getting this put together, make it become a viable product, be something that could be a help to a lot of families. You need to be given a much appreciation for what you've done and how you stuck to it and not given up, hanging in there. And I praise God for that. And I think there's a lot of potential for it. A little dressing up, a few little ideas I got, but I won't say them.
We need some racing stripes on the helmet.
I can still work in certain areas.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely. Go ahead.
I want to say, good morning, Alan. I'm ready to fix your head for you. Inside, but we won't bother that. I'm just kidding there.
Yeah. Well, Alan, you haven't lost your kidding spirit either. That's neat. That's neat. I so much enjoyed working with you over the years when we did, and also the continued friendship. I remember so many times that when I get into a tough situation, Alan would pray for me, and we made it through some difficult times. And thank you, Alan and Flo, for supporting us the way you have. It's been pretty amazing to have friends like you both. And I just, wow, Alan, and one thing that I remember is we'd get stuck sometime together, you and I, on something wouldn't work, some computer, and we'd be sweating it for 15, 20 minutes trying to figure it out. And then Alan say, well, I think it's about time to pray. And then you would pray, and all of a sudden, boom, something would start working. And we had that time and time again. And if there's something I've learned from a wonderful mentor that you are, that to go to God in prayer. And not only when you need help, immediate help, but it's a good idea to ask him for the guidance throughout the day. As we try and tackle some very difficult issues, sometimes trying to move this forward, this technology.
I don't know anything that has the simplicity of it and uniqueness and accessibility, being able to be used so easily, fixed, and help do medical care. It's just been great to see.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on. And I tell you what, just hang around in the background because we may have some questions that will be directed to you. But right now, I'm going to ask you if you could turn off your video and then audio for now. And I'm going to go to a commercial now on our equipment. So we have various palm units. We have what I call the professional unit, which is a unit that has the two wavelengths. This happens to be the 660. This is the unit here. And this is the 810 nanometer. And you can barely see it, but it's there. And the 810 nanometer has the potential, 810 nanometer does penetrate quite a bit deeper than the 660 nanometer. And both of those wavelengths are very valuable when it comes to treatment. So there's the 660 and 810 in this professional model. And then we have the next model up is the ultimate. It's basically the same. It has the 660 wavelength that you see coming through my hand here. It's a little difficult because I've got such a bright screen over there, but you can see it coming through. And then I have the 810 nanometer as well, but compared to the professional, the ultimate has like 25% more power. Then we have the next one, the one up from the ultimate is our latest model, which is the Super Palm. And the Super Palm has the same 660 nanometer wavelength. As you saw there, same intensity as the ultimate, but it has the 1050 nanometer. Now, if I look at this unit right now and look at it with my eyes, I only see one small little red light. That turns out to be our indicator light. That tells us that the unit is running. You can see the light over here. And I can't see all these other lights, LEDs that you see there. And those LEDs put out a lot of optical power in the 1050 nanometer wavelength. And so with the 1050, the 1050 has the potential to penetrate a bit deeper than the ultimate with the 810 nanometer. So that's the difference, because 810 810 and 1050 are both wavelengths that are in what's called the near infrared band. So now I'll show you another light here. This is our helmet. And the helmet is the one that we both Delia and Alan have been using. And it has the 660 nanometer wavelength, as you see here. And it also has the 810 nanometer wavelength that you can see there in the picture. So in the video screen. So that has the two wavelengths. On special order, we will provide, make a unit that's the wavelength of 1050 for either the helmet or the mini canopy. Now the mini canopy I just have over here. Just grab it for a moment. It's as well on a stand, and but I don't have it on a stand right now. So it has a very large area. In this case, the area is roughly 12 inches by 12 inches, just a little shorter in its height. But this allows you to treat a very large area of the body. So that's what this can do with the with this wavelength here. Is it has the 660 nanometer wavelength and the 810. And again, on special order, it's possible to get the 1050 nanometer wavelength. The nice thing is it's such a large area. It's the same power density as our lights, as our palm lights. But it's 15 times the area. So you cover such a large area of the body. That's what what you can do with that. So it's 15 times the power, because the power is spread over the area. It's also very, very even. The illumination is very even, and that is extremely important, whether it's the palm device, whether it's the helmet, or whether it's the mini canopy. And that is because if I turn this on, you'll see that okay, so I'll turn it on there. You can see that it's a very even amount of light over that whole area. And with that, there's no hot spots. If you're dealing with lasers, you got a lot of concern about using lasers because it's a spot of light that will, unless they put a diffuser on it, that can be a very hot spot on your body. So you can't treat too long. That's very you got to be very careful with your treatment time because otherwise you'll overheat spots of the on your skin. But also it can be very damaging to your the lasers can be very dangerous to your eyes. And the reason being is it creates a hot spot that can end up on the back of the eye. So even if it travels across the room, most lasers will stay as a dot, focused dot, that could go into the retina, go through the pupil and then back on the retina, and damage the eye through thermal damage on the retina. But our units, because they're very even in illumination, you don't have those hot spots. So it's, and one thing about safety, the power level that we have is pretty intense over this whole large area or the bigger ones. But it's so even that this can be used on the sinuses and close to the eyes. And the light level coming into your eye through you would close your eyelids if you're using it up close to your eyes. The light level coming in, the energy level is that of equivalent of what's coming from the sun. The sun has about 100 milliwatts per square centimeter. Our units range from 100 milliwatts up to 180 milliwatts of power. So a bit more powerful than the sun, but not that much. And so when you're looking at, I mean, you know that, or at least if you've been to Florida, there's no signs posted on the beach saying, don't sunbathe here or you'll go blind. It's the fact that your eyelids diffuse the light in all directions. So it's very even light coming back to the back of your eye. Whereas if you stared at the sun through your normal pupils, you could eventually do some damage to the eyes. So you don't want to do that. Just like people looking at an eclipse, you don't want to look at that eclipse, especially the fact that your pupil will be very large. So it'll let a lot more energy come back to the back of the eye and damage it. So as long as you keep your eyelids closed when you're using a close proximity, or you can, but if you get the odd, a minute of light coming in from the side because you're treating your shoulder or your side of face or whatever, that's not any issues as far as it's a very, very high level of safety. As a matter of fact, the FDA has put out there that they've not had any reports of problems with LED devices. The difference with our LED device, though, is we have a lot more power. And I do want to say, too, that there are a lot of toys on the market, and one needs to be very careful if they're looking around. One thing is that you want enough power to penetrate the depth. So it's kind of like, if I could use this illustration for those who have some mountains, think of Virginia and some other areas in British Columbia or California or wherever, New York, if you go up a long hill and you have a 4-cylinder pickup truck and it's loaded full of stuff in the back of the pickup bed, you may or may not get to the top of the hill. But if you have a pickup truck with an 8-cylinder, or let's say a 12-cylinder motor in it, you'll have no problem going up the hill, even if you have a big load in the back. Well, that's the same with our devices are kind of like the 12-cylinder devices. So you can look at the 1-cylinder, 2-cylinder devices on Amazon, but we really, and some of the other devices out there, but we do have a comparison sheet you can look at on our website. If you go into the research area, you can click on research and you can see the comparison studies as well as comparison levels of different lights. And but also there's beautiful amount of research. You can click on a web page or click on a thing that'll get you into a spreadsheet. And there's over 7,700 publications on using light. And although I wish there was a lot having our light, that's going to come. We got some research that's going to be published soon and be able to show how our light has been helpful for cognitive issues. And I can't get into it because it's in getting ready to be published now. But there's it's beautiful results for mental issues with our light. So we will have some publications to add to that 7,700 publications, but there's a lot of good information there. Some of the lights are not the powerful ones that we have made, but they still offer some benefit. Really, if you're trying to get deeper, that's where it's key to have enough power to do the job. If you're trying to treat your hip or your shoulder joint, you want to be able to have deeper, more power. I would even suggest like the Ultimate or the Super Palm for those deeper issues. So now what I'd like to do is go to question answer period here, and I welcome your questions, and we'll try and answer some of them. And if you would like to offer some questions directly to Alan and Flo, that would be pretty neat, because yeah, they so okay, so Yuli, I'll get back to you on that. I want to check with you on the energy that you have coming from your unit. No problem. We'll please email us and we'll connect with you this week. Any results using it to heal dental issues? I have my something. Carla, it turns out that I have quite a following of dentists that love our unit because you can help reduce the pain, not only pain, but help speed up the healing, especially when it comes to light inside the mouth. We do have an oral device that can be purchased, so you have the light and you can actually direct it right back at a rear tooth or something. I've got a few people that have been able to avoid root canals by using our light. So lots of different applications for dental. Thank you for your question there, Carla. George is asking, what can the 1050 do for the heart? There's no studies that I'm aware of directly on human hearts, but they have been able to show that on rats, that they've been able to cause an injury to the heart, and there's studies on it, and they've been able to use the wavelengths, whether it be 810 and 1050 would also be applicable, but for the most part, 1050 hasn't been around that long, so there's not too many studies yet for the 1050 nanometer, as it is a much newer LED. We got ours custom made a while ago, and they're starting to show up now. So can it help with the heart? I think it could, and especially when it comes to we're hoping to get a study going with myocarditis, because that's a big problem out there. So Carla asks, I have a 2-year-old grandson using it. He broke his front tooth, which needed extraction. The doctor said we can't be sure if the adult tooth will come down because it's pretty significant injury. Oops, I just 1 second. There we go. So I gave it to my daughter to try a 1 minute on each wavelength, 2 times a day, a few times a week for about 4 weeks. So here's hoping. Well, as a matter of fact, Carla, my daughter, her my granddaughter ended up smacking her front teeth, and it looked pretty rough that she might lose her teeth or front teeth earlier. And she right away was using the light, and it turned the colors. We got some really neat pictures as to how it helped with very quickly turning that around. Also, my other granddaughter, she had in another situation, she had had an accident with boiling water on her leg, and for burns, just because you mentioned the young grandson, she was 3 years old when the bowl of boiling water for Jello flipped and poured boiling water down her leg, and she was able to. My daughter ended up using our larger mini canopy and treating the whole area, and she was able to be without pain right away. But the healing process, I've got the pictures daily, and I've talked to specialists, and and they have said that this is absolutely amazing healing of some pretty bad burns by using the light every day. So Karen asks, have you thought of making a 6-inch by 6-inch canopy unit? Yes, I think that one will be on the charts to make up someday. I believe that there would be something very helpful to have a smaller version of that. So thank you, Karen, for your question. And it's going to be a while before our development pipeline right now is full on some other issues. And so we want to continue to improve, and we're bringing out some other new product as well. So we're going to come back to your thoughts there. Carla's also, any results on kids with autism? As a matter of fact, my wife and I went to an autism conference, and there was 2 kids that had autism on the spectrum, and the parents commented how they felt that they were, in this case, is 2 younger boys from 2 different families. They both mothers felt that the light seemed to really add a calmness to their 2 boys, or each one of their sons. Rosalind is asking, will the palm device help with sleep and increase helmet energy like the helmet? Yes, it will. It depends on, again, how long you use it, but the nice thing about the helmet, it just treats the whole head in 4 minutes. If you try and do it by trying to treat 10 areas and using 4 minutes, then it's 40 minutes, but one doesn't necessarily have to treat that long to get a benefit. And I can tell you that that there is people have commented on how well their sleep has been by using the palm on their brain through the skull. Another question, does the palm help regrow eyebrows the way the helmet helped with growth of hair? As long as there's, as I understand it, as long as the hair follicles are there and there's something there to work with, then light therapy can be quite beneficial to growth of hair. So yeah. Okay, thank you, Rosalind. Geraldine, is anyone using or researching PBM with skin cancer? Not that I'm aware of, Geraldine. I just know that the light can be very, very helpful in helping the immune system, to tackle challenging issues. So people have improved their skin issues by using the light. And as a matter of fact, red light has been shown to improve collagen growth collagen in the skin, and so it can be very helpful that way. Thank you for your question. Otto is asking, you had indicated before that people in Israel being helped with your devices. Any update from Israel? So I have a couple palm units over there right now in Israel, and we are trying to get the clearance to move it from the doctor's house to inside the hospital. And so I had a major meeting with heads of departments. I think it was 5 different departments of the largest hospital in Israel. And we did a Zoom call together, and it went very, very well. They're interested. We just got to get some clearance so we can bring more devices in and directly into the hospital. So there's a little more work we need. Appreciate your prayers out there for us as we try and we really desire to try and help people in Israel. Okay, thank you, Otto. Karen is asking, Brian is asking, what about varicose veins? I am not sure about varicose veins. I think if it was to help, it would be a very long time to try and improve things, but I'm really can't. I do not have any direct understanding of or know of anybody who's had improvement that way. Okay. By the way, is there any questions for my guests? Because that would be fantastic as well. So can the palm units be used through a cast or close? Must it be used directly on the skin? My uncle had surgery to remove a foot bone due to not healing. He is paralyzed from his waist down. Now this surgical incision is not healing, and doctor has a cast on it. He takes the cast off to treat the wound. Can we treat with the palm unit over the cast? And what is the recipe? Thank you for all of what you're doing to help humanity. Debbie, I think I'd like to try and help you with this, some thoughts here on the situation, but I got to remind my listeners here that I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe anything. You need to check with your doctor about everything. And if he hasn't heard about red light therapy, well, you got to check some other places then. But definitely do some research. We've got lots of places where you can research for yourself on photobiomodulation. Okay, Kathleen is asking, very interested in your background of your light healing and how you came to discover and implement this technology. Well, it's actually been, and Catherine, both my wife and I had different illnesses, and I would say that if it wasn't for that, we would have probably not come up with this. But it was when, first of all, I fell off a ladder, a 2nd floor height, when I was, we live in Ontario, and we had pushed in I had pushed in the storm windows. It was a very old house. And when I did, the ladder took off on me, and I fell from a 2nd floor height onto concrete. And I didn't do very good flying lessons that day. I was hurting, but I didn't break anything. But every year, 2 years, I'd have such bad back pain, muscle spasms, and really the chiropractic did everything I could to try and improve my situation. But usually it would take months, even up to 4 or 5 months, to turn that very bad back pain down to somewhat normal. And at the same time, my wife had issues that were difficult issues. She had hyperthyroidism plus a whole number of other issues. And we were searching for trying to solve some problems that we couldn't get the help really from the normal medical. We were just not getting anywhere. But in this one case, it was very interesting. Two different people came to my facility the same day, and they said, for your wife, why don't you consider meeting this one doctor in Burlington? And both of them, they didn't know each other, but they both said the same thing on the same day. So when that happens, I kind of believe in divine intervention to wake me up, kind of thing. And so I ended up going to this doctor with Monica, my wife, and he ended up helping her. And it was that very time where I had already been building a light for dentistry for curing the white fillings. And so I had a high power light on the market for dentists to help make the fillings hard. So I understood light can activate a compound that would harden the filling. And so when this doctor, he was asking my wife a bunch of questions, and then he turned to me and he says, "So what do you do?" Because my wife had mentioned she's going through a lot of stress. Well, I'm the stress maker. So being self-employed. So I says, well, I make this powerful blue light to harden the filling and material for dentists. And he said, wow. He said, can you make it in red? And I said, sure. Now, if you would have told me back then, hey, if you shine light on your elbow will do anything, I would say you're probably smoking something, because I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't have believed that light could do anything at that point other than activate a compound or activate some kind of drug. I could believe that. And so I ended up working with this doctor. We made tremendous advancements. And at one time I was working on this very powerful light, and I put it behind, I had this one of those muscle spasms. I was in a lot of pain. I put it behind my back. I thought, why not try? I mean, come on. I got so much pain. It's worth a try. So I put that light behind my back, and in about 20 minutes, the pain almost, went from like an 8 screaming at me to down to a 3, which I was blown away that in 20 minutes I could make that kind of difference. So that's when I decided to start working on trying to develop light technology for pain and inflammation. I was able to start working with a lot of different people, and we've been able to help. So that was neat. And that was like, now it's, I think, 16 years ago. So Jay says, thank you, Tom. Well, you're welcome. Carla asks, has there been any results on stroke victims, even many years, 18 years after the stroke? Well, Carla, as about 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been able to say anything about that. But as of just about, I think it's about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from a dentist. And not only did the light help his wife for an issue she had she had her limb amputated, and she had a lot of pain, and she couldn't use there was no chance of prosthetics, to 3 months later, using the light every day, to her being able to use the prosthetics and not have pain. He was elated that it was able to help his wife. So in this case, what happened is he decided he would talk to his friend, a close friend of his who had a stroke 20 years ago, 20. And so that's 2 more years than what you're asking about. But he had, ever since the stroke, he had a difficult time to be able to talk. So that was an ongoing thing for the last 20 years. So his dentist friend decided to use the light after watching some of my webinars and use it around the skull. And the next day after the treatment, the next day he was able to speak clearly. So it was pretty neat that we were able to see such a dramatic change. Yeah. Okay, so I do have a question for Alan. Alan, do you think you could come on, please? Alan Flo. I'll tell you what the question is as soon as so you have to turn on your video. Oh, there we go. And audio, your microphone there. So the question here from Carla, Alan, how was your fine motor skills and or writing skills affected? And if there was any way, there has been any, has that also improved?
I would say in years gone, as I've grown and looked at my health, and I'd say that it has improved immensely. Wouldn't you say so, Flo?
Well, they're talking about the effect from the Lewy body, and yes, his writing's never been easy to read, as you might know.
I'm not the world's greatest writer.
When he was really struggling, his writing was well, you talk about chicken scratch. It was more like that kind of writing. But now, like, he's been writing some notes here. They're quite legible. And so it has definitely affected his writing as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. That he's been able to see some improvement in that area. That's beautiful. Catherine says, I love this, a combination of need and divine intervention. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, that is the last of our questions tonight. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Alan and Flo, it's been wonderful to have you on. And for those that still come up with a question after this, couple things is please go to our website, www.sunpowerled.com. If you want to send us an email questioning, having some questions, send it to info@sunpowerled.com. And you can always call in too on the website. It says there's a 1-888 number that one can call toll free. We do for our, this Zoom is going out both, well, obviously to US and Canada. I do have a company called Kerber USA in the States, so there's no issues with you getting the product, and also for future warranty. Everything's held, everything's looked after on the US side. And for Canada, we look after things here as well. So if you have any questions, also I failed to mention earlier that we do have a draw once a month, and that is for Palm Ultimate device. And so if you watch these webinars to the end really we call at 8 o'clock, but we've gone on a little longer. But if you watch it to that point, you're entered in the draw every time you watch it. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I have another special guest next week. His name is Dr. James Tour. He has developed what's called nanorobots. Very, very brilliant researcher, scientist, chemist in Rice University in Houston, Texas. And these nanorobots, he's been able to work with compounds down to the molecular level, and graphene and other things. But on the nanorobots, 50,000 of these nanorobots will sit across the width of a human hair. So they're extremely tiny. Well, what he's been able to do more recently is he's been able to make he made an electric drill. Oh, not electric drill, a drill. And that drill uses light. And I was able to provide him the right wavelength of light so he could power up these little tiny drills, and they could drill holes in the cancer cell. And so there's really neat things there. And then more recently, he's been able to develop another version, which is a jackhammer and it actually in 2 millionths of a second will deliver 20 million blows, like percussion, 20 million of them in 2 millionths of a second. So he can destroy melanoma. Was able to do that on mice, and he hopes someday that he can bring it into the world for people. And he's trying to get that moving forward, but he's have a very difficult time moving it from the lab to being able to use it for people. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I won't get into it, but anyways, he's a fantastic speaker, and he also speaks about creationism, and I think you'll fully enjoy our talk next week. So welcome. I welcome everybody to invite some of your friends onto the webinar for next Tuesday. They got to hear the interesting technology and also how light is so beautiful, the created light. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and bye for now.